is Jason JROCK Houston, and you're listening to Guitarist Magazine. We can be found on the web at www.guitarist.com, and our guest tonight is lead singer, guitarist Nick Perri from the band Underground Thieves. How you doing tonight, Nick?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
Now, Nick, I believe the last time I interviewed you was for another band. So Underground Thieves, is this another band you recently started?
Yeah, the Underground Thieves is about a year and a half old, 18 months-ish. We, I guess put a flag in the sand January 2018. What was the other band? Just curious.
Oh, I'm for some reason I can't remember the name myself, but that's what I was asking.
Was it Silvertide? Was that
Silvertide? That's it. Yeah, and the reason I was asking, I was curious if you still had Silvertide was an ongoing project as well.
No, it's not. Silvertide, really our main heyday, as I look back and refer to it, was kind of 2001 to like 2006.
Oh, wow. Okay. So it's been a while for that. Okay. I remember I interviewed you once before.
But in all fairness, we did do a reunion in 2013 to celebrate the 10-year anniversary of our debut record.
Oh, wow. Okay. So that's kind of what you people know you from before. So how exciting is it to be involved with Underground Thieves? And I guess that's a good place to start the interview off, telling us you said it started about a year and a half ago. So was this a band you started? Was it an existing band you joined?
No, this is 1,000% my brainchild. I started it from, literally my bedroom.
Yeah.
And hatched the idea, and basically called my friends and put it together. And it's very close to my heart. I've been in this business a long time. I got signed Silvertide. I signed that record deal when I was 17.
Yeah.
Finished school. And it's been quite the journey from then to now. It's funny because I was just in a meeting earlier. I was talking about, I try not to look back and call things regret. I think we all make mistakes, and those mistakes, hopefully we learn from them, and that takes us from point A to point B.
Yeah, like you said, you've been on that journey literally from a boy to a man. And let me ask you now, not that you, not that it should be a regret or anything, but I would also think that now now that Silvertide is kind of a thing of the past, that it's not so much a regret, but something that you can be very proud of.
Yes, and I am very proud of it. I look back fondly. Sure, there was some painful stuff that went on, but I am very proud of that first record, which, it did, by today's standards, it did insanely well. Back then, if you didn't sell 1 million copies, it was a disappointment. But we sold almost 500,000 records and toured the world, toured with all our heroes. And I have nothing but great memories from those times. So.
And you make a very good point, because even talking a little bit about the music industry today, I'm sure you're even lucky if you can even say you got a record deal. A lot of bands don't even have a record deal. It's like, what is a record deal? A lot of bands put out the stuff independently, and you can look at that one of two ways. I mean, I personally think on one hand, it's a lot more. You got to have a lot more money put out, to invest in your band and everything. But at the same time, if the album is a hit and people like it, the bulk of the money goes back into you and your bandmates' pockets, as opposed to the guy at the label, if you know what I mean.
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Well, as of now, this moment in time, which is probably going to change, in the not too distant future. But as of this moment in time, the Underground Thieves has been and is still completely independent. I've been, funding the whole thing, my wife and I, and we've been making records, and videos and touring and doing it all independently. And it's, there's pros and cons.
Yeah, of course. But as far as, I think one of the pros would be like the fact that you're doing it all on your own. As hard as that may be sometimes financially and everything, that the power is literally in your hands, where you don't have a guy in a suit telling you, hey, I don't hear a single. Go back and, go write something with more of a, radio hook or something. You can kind of put your music out there the way you see fit, as opposed to having somebody else tell you how to do it.
That is exactly accurate.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been fun. I've literally just been making the music that is in my head and my heart and putting it out, and I actually think that's why it's working, and that's why people are getting excited. I mean, the last 2 weeks, ever since we put out the most recent single called Whole Lotta Money, which is an ironic song title, by the way.
I was going to ask you about that. That's the next kind of topic I want to get into, because I was watching the video just before you called, kind of, prepare for today's interview, and it's a cool looking video, fun looking video. You're kind of walking down the street playing the guitar, and I guess some of the other guys in the video are your bandmates. But like right off the bat, I'll tell people, Whole Lot of Money. Right away you kind of think of Whole Lot of Love. It doesn't really sound nothing like that, but I will tell you, I really dig your guitar riff in the song. It really has kind of a nice little riffy hooks throughout the song. So I was kind of curious, what came first? Was it the lyrics or the riff?
In this case, which isn't always this way, but in this case, it was definitely the riff. And it's funny because I make these little, I sit with a guitar on, and whenever I stumble upon something that I think is worth anything, I get my iPhone and I pull up a voice memo and I take a little memo of it. I can't tell you how many thousands of these memos I have. Thousands.
Wow.
And, every so often, which I'm way overdue, every, 6 months or a year, I'll sit down and, go back through all of them and delete, ones that I didn't think were really that great.
Yeah.
And keep the ones that I thought were okay. Anyway, somehow the riff for this one stuck out. And about 6 months ago, it made it through the second process, which is then I email it to myself, so it's sitting on my desktop.
Yeah.
And I have a little note that's like, okay, work on this. And so it ended up going from point A to point B, and then ended up just doing a really quick recording of it with just a drum loop and 2 stereo guitars, and I put it on a CD.
Wow.
And then I've got a long drive to LA. I live in Orange County, so whenever I'm going to LA for rehearsals or meetings or whatever, I've got time to kill in the car, sometimes 2 hours each way.
Wow, yeah.
So I'll play these riffs and song ideas, fragments that I've got, and I'll sing over them while I'm driving.
Wow.
And so I had the main riff, and it was one of those weird moments which I've come to cherish because they don't happen often, but it's literally the song wrote itself. I put it on as I'm driving. 5 minutes later, the song was done. I had all the lyrics, had all the melodies. It just flowed. I was in a great mood, hence the I'm feeling good. And I was just in one of those moods.
See, that's the thing about this song. When I was listening to it, I'm listening to it for the first time. I'm watching the video, and it's just a total feel good song. It just puts you into a good mood,
Well, thank you. That makes me happy. That's what I want to do. I want to make people feel good.
Kind of like a good time summer song. We're just starting summer off here, and that's kind of the vibe I got. And I must tell you, Nick, one thing I've always enjoyed about any of the music you've put out is you're definitely a very gifted singer, songwriter / guitarist. Now I was curious, what came first? Did you start out like most people as a guitar player and kind of just find out you also had the gift to sing as well, or?
That's a great question. When I first started playing guitar, I started singing immediately, and but I was so hooked by the instrument that I kind of gave guitar my focus, because then very soon after that I got in a band with Walt Lafty, who's the singer of Silvertide. He's such an unbelievably good effing singer that it didn't make sense for me to try to compete as a lead vocalist. So I went to background vocals and lead guitar, but I always kept writing and singing through all these years. But to be honest with you, the Underground Thieves is the first project I've ever done where I put out songs where I'm singing lead vocals on.
And so what is that? What has that been like for you? That transition then, because a lot of people typically when they're first starting out, they even just when you record your voice, oh man, I can't stand the sound of my own voice. But it's kind of interesting. a process, I would think, because I mean, a lot of guys, for example, like you take Vince Neil from Motley Crue. He may not be the world's greatest singer, but I will tell you, he's got the voice for that band. You know what I mean? Nicky writes the songs, and he's the right guy to sing that stuff. If they tried it once, and as great as John Corabi as a singer, nobody sings those songs the way Vince Neil does. If you know what I mean, he just fits that band.
Yeah, and I think that's the most important thing. Not everyone's going to be, have the chops of, Luciano Pavarotti.
Yeah.
But that's not what's important. What's important is, does the music you're listening to make you feel something? Kurt Cobain, was the only man in the world that could write songs that sound like that and lead Nirvana. Like, it's his voice, you wouldn't change a thing. It's so great. But, you wouldn't want to hear Kurt, trying to sing Queen.
Yeah.
I mean? Like, that's a different thing. So it's like, everyone's kind of got their thing. And I think it's less important about, like, the acrobatics of it, and more important, like, do you have something to say? And is it believable? I'm not doing anything in A Whole Lot of Money that's so vocally amazing, but it's got character, and it's honest, and it's what I was feeling.
See, it's got your character, and what I mean by that is, for example, like you're saying that you had a great singer when you were in Silvertide. Now, so what's that like? Because you said you were a background singer now, and that's equally as important, because you take a band like even like Van Halen, where Michael Anthony did a lot of those great background vocals. That's what he's known for, besides his great bass playing. But that was that was a major part of Van Halen's sound, those background vocals, and being the songwriter and having somebody else kind of deliver your lyrics or your words. What's that like? Like, are you more critical, like, when another guy is singing your lyrics?
Well, in all fairness, Walt was also co-songwriter of a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
But it was truly collaborative, and no, it was not weird. It felt very natural. Walt, it's like, so gifted as a singer. It was never weird for me. I still do love the sound of his voice, and anytime he would sing something that we wrote together, or that he came up with, or that I came up with, it didn't matter, because he's so great. It was just, I loved hearing him sing it. So
okay, that's great. I'm glad. And then so I would think now with the Underground Thieves, it would be equally liberating, because getting back to maybe people that aren't natural born singers. There's something to be said too for a guy that he's a good enough singer that he can get up there and belt a song out or whatever, and it's got to be somewhat liberating for you to go in the studio and kind of just record your own songs, and here it is, and hope you like it, and it is what it is. But that's got to be a great kind of achievement, if you know what I mean.
It is. It's just been great. I'm having a ball. Yeah. I'm like literally, tomorrow I'm going to be in my home studio all day, recording the next song, and I don't need approval from anybody. I know what it is. It's great. I can't wait for people to hear it. It's really good. And, So it sounds
like you've been like kind of belted, like a lot of bands do these days, kind of releasing singles. Now, my question is, when you get enough material, do you think when you maybe get 9 or 10 songs out there, it might be time to put out a full-length CD? Or is that kind of what you're looking towards?
Yeah, absolutely. A full-length EP, well, a full-length LP, a full-length album is definitely in the future. Cards. We may compile some of the songs that we've got with maybe a couple new ones and do an EP prior. I'm not sure yet.
Okay, but we're still working towards that. That's great. And now for fans who know you from Silvertide and expect us to be maybe, you sound just like that, what do you say to them?
Well, nothing's going to sound like Silvertide except Silvertide, but if you like where that comes from,
yeah, you'll like
which
this.
If you like bluesy rock and roll, guitar, scratchy vocals and just good songs. Like even Silvertide, it wasn't all that. Like we had songs like Nothing Stays and Heartstrong that were just, I think, really great songs with great lyrics that made you feel something. Yeah. Then and you'll absolutely love this, but don't go into it thinking it's going to sound like Silvertide, because in my experience, nothing sounds like a band unless it's that band,
and I think part of the reason for that is like, you could have one guy from a band, but then he's working now with a bunch of different guys that weren't in that band, and so it kind of depends on who you're collaborating, with at the time. I mean, that has a lot to do with it, and and here's the thing: like, as great of a guitar player as you might be, Nick, to have any kind of success, you got to really be able to deliver the goods in terms of like the songs. I don't know any band that has really had any kind of success that didn't have well-written songs. That's what it's all about. And that's my point in talking to you. You're a pretty good songwriter, and so I don't think that's going to be much of an issue for you. But now with Underground Thieves, I was curious. You're currently you're releasing like a song at a time, and so the band is kind of new, and people are just finding out about the band, and there really aren't any expectations as far as what the Underground Thieves are supposed to sound like. You're kind of developing your sound as you go. How much fun has that been? Not really knowing what the band should sound like, and you're just kind of developing the sound as you go.
It's been great, but I do have a vision for it. I mean,
of course, yeah.
I don't want to. I think that we have the favorite bands that we have because they all have a sound.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
I am working towards a sound.
Yeah.
But it's been incredibly fun along the way to find that and fine tune it. I mean, look, 2 singles ago we released a song called Fall, which was my first song on lead vocals, and it's the most Pink Floyd thing I've ever done.
Wow,
and it was the most liberating thing, because Pink Floyd's my favorite band of all time.
Wow.
To be able to actually put a song into the universe that is in that wheelhouse. I wasn't trying to copy Pink Floyd in any way, but it has it's inspired by and I wanted to give people the feeling that Pink Floyd gives me, if that makes sense.
Oh, sure.
And sort of this like atmospheric, soaring kind of detachment from the hustle and bustle of our daily world.
Yeah, I guess the point I was trying to make with the last question is, because you're kind of working towards the first album, and you don't have 2 or 3 albums under your belt already, people don't already have an expectation of what the band's supposed to sound like, and that's got to be kind of fun to be in the process of kind of developing the sound of a band and not having any preconceived notions from your fans of what you're supposed to sound like.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know any artist that would want that, and that goes back to your last question, because it's like, I couldn't think of a less inspiring thing than to go into this album or songwriting and go like, I'm going to try to rehash feelings and stuff that I had when I was 16, 17, writing the Silvertide record. Like, that would be horrible with no artistic growth whatsoever. Like, I'm not saying, oh, that stuff's bad. The opposite. I love it. It's wonderful for what it was, but I've moved on, and like, I don't want to rehash the past. I want to continue making new great art that's inspiring me as I'm going on this journey.
And it's all, as you say, it's about progression. Moving on now, you mentioned that you were influenced by one of the bands you're influenced by, obviously, is Pink Floyd. Now, I was curious, are you equally a fan of, say, Dark Side of the Moon as you are The Wall? Do you like both? Do you like everything Pink Floyd has done in between?
I think the big 4 are metal, Dark Side.
Yeah.
Well, the big 5.
Yeah.
Metal, Dark Side, Wish You Were Here, Animals, and The Wall. My all-time favorite of all time is actually The Wall. It's my favorite studio record ever made.
Yeah.
And to me, that's untouchable. I know that Dark Side was the first one that I heard that changed my whole life.
Yeah,
Dark Side would have to be my second favorite album of all time. But something about the melodies and the choirs and like the piano and just like something about The Wall.
Yeah, I'll tell you something about The Wall that you may or may not know as a fan. Okay, the guy that produced The Wall, Bob Ezrin, he's the same guy that produced Destroyer by Kiss in 1976. And if you listen to the Kiss album Destroyer and you listen to The Wall, Bob Ezrin produced both these bands, And the thing that you'll hear throughout both these albums are like the little tiny, like just weird little sound effects that you almost wouldn't hear if you're not paying attention. It's all about the sound effects. And Ezrin's a great producer. He's also a musician, a great songwriter. And it's kind of funny that the guy that produced Kiss also produced Pink Floyd, and he had the same kind of success with both bands, and neither band sounds anything alike. You know what I mean?
That is amazing, and I did not know. I mean, I know Bob Ezrin did The Wall.
Yeah.
I did not know that he did Destroyer. How cool!
Yeah. I mean, and Ezrin, of course, also did all those great Alice Cooper albums from the '70s. But and The Wall. Did you ever get a chance to see the movie The Wall?
Of course.
Yeah. How iconic is that? And it's funny because Pink Floyd, they're not really an active band these days, but all these years later, like they have Pink Floyd tribute bands. They have from time to time, like you'll see a little small theater playing The Wall, the movie, and that stuff still is just as popular today as it was when it was originally released. And funny, I'm sure you know about Dark Side of the Moon. That remained on the charts for just years and years and years. I think it just
20 years.
Yeah, I mean, wow. What talk about iconic? Talk about influencing the music industry.
I mean, it's just their impact can't be understated. I mean, it's mind blowing. It's just truly mind blowing. I mean, most people that I know that are musicians, not everybody,
yeah.
but I know that my story is not unique. Being 16 and like discovering, Dark Side of the Moon and having it like change your entire life. Because like, how could it not?
I'm with you. I like those. I think my two favorites are Dark Side and The Wall, as far as Pink Floyd goes. But their album they had, like I think it was like 1987. They came back without Roger Waters. Momentary Lapse of Reason. It was amazing how well that album charted, because Roger Waters is no longer in the band, but they still had David Gilmour. So and they were able to.
Yeah, I like that record, and I like The Division Bell, of course.
Yeah.
I think they're both good albums, but I don't think they're in the same league as those five.
Yeah. Now we talked a little bit, obviously, about Pink Floyd here. So who were some of your other influences that you grew up listening to?
I mean, Hendrix, especially the Band of Gypsies period, where he was with Billy Cox and Buddy Miles. That was like the Bible for me.
And the amazing thing about Hendrix, I mean, he didn't have, obviously because he died so young, he didn't have a very long career. He just released a couple albums before he died, and it's amazing the legacy that guy has left behind, just based on
on a few albums.
Yeah. Same thing with I don't know if you're a Randy Rhoads fan, the guitar player played with Ozzy. He only recorded 2 albums, and man, that guy is still influencing people all these years after he died in that plane crash.
I know, it's unbelievable.
Yeah. So
some people just they catch fire, It's just an amazing thing,
Yes. So I know you're based out of Los Angeles here. I was curious. So besides Underground Thieves, do you write with other people for other projects? Do you produce other bands? Or are you primarily concentrating on your own crew right now?
I always write songs. I sometimes write for other artists. Producing wise, I've done a few other things, but mainly my own stuff.
That's cool.
But I am also playing guitar and writing with and working with an artist named Dorothy. You familiar with her?
No, I have to look her up.
She's got 2 records out. She had a song that went top 10 last year called Flawless.
Oh, okay.
She's an awesome artist. It's very bluesy and rock and roll and right up my alley. So in between Underground Thieves tours and writing, I've been playing with her, touring with her, writing with her. I was in the studio with her yesterday. Yeah. Excuse me. But the Thieves are my baby. That's my main thing.
Yeah, and kind of, listening to the one song, I'll have to go back and listen to some of your other songs that you guys have released, Underground Thieves, but just based on the latest single, I would say, you guys are kind of a modern rock band, kind of got a 70s vibe to it. I could also see you doing like some acoustic or unplugged type stuff. You ever thought about any of that?
Yep, we just did actually. The last time I was in Philly with the guys, we filmed 3 songs. Filmed video. We're gonna, I don't know when, at some point,
and then,
put it up.
Yeah.
But three songs acoustic. It turned out really great.
And getting back to A Whole Lot of Money, which is, as we said, the latest single. Talk a little bit about the video. I mean, it's nothing really complex. It's kind of a fun little, I don't know if you want to call it a performance piece. You kind of walking down the street with your guitar and singing with your buddies, I guess, or your bandmates. But how long did that video take to shoot, and what's been the response from the fans so far?
Well, the video was pretty ambitious. It's a continuous, one-shot continuous video, meaning there's no edits.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow. Yeah, I didn't notice.
So that's all done in one continuous take, and it wraps around 3 city blocks.
Wow.
And goes into a park. So it was very complex.
Is that by where you live, or did you just go find a location to shoot at?
It's like maybe an hour from my house.
Oh, cool. And you were able to just go shoot. You didn't have to get any kind of fancy permit or anything, because it looks just like a fun video. And it's kind of, now that you mentioned that, I did notice that it was kind of, like you said, just one shot, but that was kind of cool. So the fact that you just have them kind of shooting as the band is, walking along, I imagine it didn't take very long to film, or you didn't, like you said, because you don't have any edits or anything.
Well, it took a lot of time. With videos like that, they take a lot of preparation and less post. So, I went and did a test shoot the week prior, mapped out the whole location. Then I had to set everybody up to where you enter at this point, you enter at this point, you enter at this point, we do this at this point. I had to map out the whole thing.
Oh, wow, that had to be, I don't know, frustrating is the right word, but time-consuming.
Yeah, I mean, it was work, but it was fun work.
Getting the job done. And I really dig bands that kind of still put videos out, because there is that thought process that some bands have, like well, hey, CDs aren't selling like they used to, so we're just going to live on our catalog music. We're not going to release any new music. Hey, why make a music video nobody's gonna play? But you do have a huge audience. Some bands maybe fail to realize on YouTube. I mean, how people responded to this, because I think it's cool that you're putting out new music. It's cool that you're making videos.
Well, thank you, man. I really appreciate it. We're having fun with it, and it's all art to me. It's making music, making videos, it's self-expression, and obviously the music comes first.
Yeah.
That's the priority. But when music is done, it's like, how do we want to present this to the world? And I come from a generation that loves music videos.
Yeah. And so let me ask you, from the time you write the song and you get it down and you release a single, do you know right away, okay, this is what the song's about in terms of this is what we're going to make the video, or do you start thinking about what the video's going to look like after?
Sometimes a little bit of both.
Yeah.
I had the idea for this video pretty early on.
Yeah.
While the song was still being worked on.
Cool.
But sometimes it's after.
Okay, and I was kind of curious, Nick. You mentioned what's the plans to tour with Underground Thieves? Have you guys done much touring? Or
we went out last year. We played some shows with Slash. We did a tour with Last Night Show. Did a bunch of headlining stuff. Really, the priority right now is writing and recording. But I think we're going to go out and do a bunch of shows again in the fall.
Oh, okay.
So people can stay tuned for dates, hopefully coming in the fall, which will be announced sooner than that. But we're not going to take it out on the road before that.
And I guess people can kind of follow you on Facebook and on the band's official site and that. So before we wrap this up, is there anything else you'd want to say to all your fans out there?
Just thank you. Thank you for the support. Thank you for your support and encouragement. And excited for you to hear all the new music. Okay, well, I will tell you what, Nick. It has been a pleasure talking to you today. And I'm